welcome to the Improv Summit. As always, I'm your host, Spencer, and with me today I have a very special guest. Now, I was told I should never say I have a very special guest again because everyone's a very special guest, so it doesn't feel as exciting. So now we use the old improv game where you take the person's first name and you put an adjective in front of it that has a letter that starts with the letter of their first name. So today, with me today, I have delightful Dani. How's it going?
It is delightful, Spencer. Thank you.
Thank you. Also, I just want to point out, because I know we were talking about it off camera, the wall in the back looks very lovely. The green, super awesome. I love it.
Thank you for noticing. I just painted it.
Oh, wow. That I didn't even know. What a surprise.
Oh, okay.
Just kidding. No. For those that were watching right now, before I started recording, we had a whole conversation about it. But if you think it looks lovely, go ahead and drop a comment in the YouTube channel about how wonderful, how graciously green? Yeah, sure, why not? How graciously green delightful Dani's walls are right in the comments. And give this video a thumbs up and subscribe.
Just for the paint job, please subscribe.
Yeah, please. I need please. No, we gotta monetize this bad boy.
I need to buy more paint.
Yeah, right? I need a new background. Look, I need something to make my background. Anyway, let's just dive in. One of the main questions of the Improv Summit is about improv, because that's why it's called the Improv Summit. It's not the Improv Summit Sketch Edition. It's the Improv Summit, improv. So let's talk about you and your improv background. What is your improv experience?
Sure. I started improv in Chicago, I want to say 7 years ago now. I was very into acting in high school, thought I was going to be an actor, and my mom wouldn't let me go to college to be an actor, so she was like, be a teacher. You're on stage the whole time. And so I did become a teacher, and... No, I'm not a teacher. I lied. I got my degree in teaching, and I actually, yeah, I teach teachers. But I really just was missing I was just going from work to home to work. Kind of had a bit of a mental breakdown, as we do in the comedy world. And my therapist was like, "What's one thing that you never have done that you really want to do? Something that scares you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm in Chicago. Why would I not do improv?" So I started at Second City. I took a level A and kind of just fell in love with humans that were there. These people were in my wedding. We just got so close. I made a really good group of friends. And then from there, I just tried all the things. So I've done Second City, A through E. And then I've done, I don't know if is it A through E here in Hollywood?
It's Improv 1, 2, 3, Conservatory 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then Grad Review Part 1 and Part 2.
Nope, not
it sounds like it's longer.
Yeah. Well, there's also conservatory. I did music conservatory at Second City as well. So I'm really into music improv, and we did a whole musical sketch show, and that was really fun. And then
they skip they never really have the musical improv. So I did musical improv essentials, and then did musical review. So there were no levels in between ever offered.
Interesting. So you just have to wing it for sure.
Yeah, well, we were invited to do musical reviews, so it worked itself out. But
very cool. Yeah, so I'm really into that. I'm not a good singer, but I like singing. So from there, I had a couple of indie teams. I did it was called Laughter Than a Speeding Bullet. We did a crazy superhero improv show for a while at the Annoyance Theater in Chicago, and then my musical improv team, we were doing competitive stuff for a while. And then currently, now I'm at Comedy Sports. So I've kind of been at all the theaters, and they're all very different. And spoiler alert, I know you're getting to that question later, but I've dipped my toes in the water of all the things, and all of them have been scary and fun and amazing. And wow, I can't wait to get back in real life.
Right?
But over the past year, I have been doing, for an entire year, Zoom and Twitch improv shows.
That's amazing. I was going to say, it's so funny. I was going to say, you're definitely a Chicagoan. I can tell.
No. You stop it. Hey, no. Is that Chicago? I don't know.
It's so funny because I tell people I'm from the South, and they're like, no, you're not. And they're like, where are you from? I'm like, I'm from Florida. They're like, that's not the South. I'm like, I'm from North Florida, the Panhandle. They're like, oh, uh-huh. And then I'm like, and then I came out one time and I said, y'all. And someone goes, what did you just say? And I said, y'all. And they were like, I was like, you all. They're like, I've never heard anyone say that. I'm like, I'm like, first of all, it's a Southern thing, I guess. But second of all, how have you never heard anyone say y'all? Like, I'm
I know.
sorry.
Do you watch
like,
TV?
like, do you listen to people talk in general? Like, y'all, come on, y'all.
I mean, I say y'all too, but it's kind of like a city thing. It's like, hey, y'all. Speaking of y'all, Spencer,
like,
I forgot to
heart.
say. Oh, bless your heart. I forgot to say the reason why I'm on this thing. When I worked in the college world, I used to work with college students with disabilities. So I've always done special ed, disability advocacy, love that stuff. And I got really lucky to work at a college that had a mentor program. I ran a mentor program, and then I started a social skills group for individuals with autism. And through that, I taught them improv. And that is just like my favorite thing in the world to do, is to teach improv to individuals with autism. And they didn't all have autism, but it's just really cool to see people who normally don't look each other in the eye. Like, you have to. We were just talking about zip, zap, zap. You know, how are you going to win if you can't see the person, you know?
Exactly. Well, actually, that leads me into, I'm going to take the train off the tracks, whatever. The metaphor was there. The point is, I'm going to ask another question that was not on my list, but I think that's okay. And it actually relates to accessibility and improv, because you kind of come from that as a teacher for this accessibility in improv. And this is a twofold question, so feel free to kind of answer whatever. Are there any games or any scenes, anything in improv that you feel are already inherently accessible for all kind of populations? And or what are some things that people can do as a teacher, as a coach, as a player, as a performer, as a student, to create more accessible spaces for improvisers of all backgrounds?
Yeah, I think, let me answer the second question first.
Sure.
I learned a lot of what not to do from trying to do improv with individuals with disabilities. Things that, like, I don't have a disability myself, so, like, things that I never thought of. Improv gets loud, it gets wild, and, like, I had a student who, I can't remember what game we were playing. There's lots of games where you know. It was probably, like, past the clap or something, and this student literally walked out, and at first I was mad. I was like, he doesn't want to be in the social skill. What is happening? And then when I went to talk to him, he's like, there's just, like, too much sensory stuff going on. So there's a lot of things that, like, I think we need to make things accessible, ask people how they learn best, how they can connect best, because people are not doing it to say, I don't want to play or I don't want to be involved in it. It's just like, hey, right now, that's not cool. Like, I'm going to have a meltdown or something else is going to happen if I hear these loud noises. So the way to make things accessible is just, I don't know, talk to people, see what they like to do, see what they can do, what they can't do. We do that anyways in improv sometimes. Like, I talk to my scene partners or my team beforehand, like, to know their physical limitations. I've been in scenes where I've jumped on someone's back, and that's probably not okay with everyone, you know? So just understanding people's limitations first, and then just being safe and letting everyone join in the way that they want to join in, I think, is the best way.
Yeah, and I think off of that, one of the big things that I've discovered as a teacher, but also as someone with a disability, is if someone tells you that they need a break or someone tells you they need something, like, no, it's not personal. It's just that they need that for themselves, for their adaptability or accessibility. Like, when I go to meetings on Zoom specifically, I will always be like, I might have my camera off most of the time. It's just a lot for me to be staring on camera. Also, I'm self-conscious about being on camera, which is the irony of being an actor in general, being on camera. But also, I feel like as someone with a vision impairment, being on the computer all the time, like, people get Zoom fatigue, but I often get it a little bit easier and quicker, and it's more frustrating because I'm having to really focus in on a bright screen all day. And so it's a lot. But that being said, just extending that to anyone who may be watching or listening, is just don't take it personally. People need their space, they need things, and that goes for all kinds. It goes for visible and invisible disabilities of all kinds. Just, if people need a minute, just let them have a minute. Like, it's nothing you did. It's just that they, and also I will say that a lot of times people are pretty good about saying, like, I can't play this game because of X, Y, and Z, or like this is, you know, sensory thing, like this is a lot sensory wise or whatever. We don't necessarily have to say any reasons why, but in the event of like something, like if I'm not going to partake, I will often, so the teacher knows it's not them. I'll be like, this is why I can't do this game, or like why I need to stand on the stage left so I can see everyone when I'm on stage versus standing on stage right where I can't see anyone unless I completely turn and look at them. But that's a whole conversation for another day because it's not about me, and people have heard this on the show all the time. But let's move into something we haven't really talked about, but I always want to know, what do you love about improv? What keeps you in this world of just continuing improv, no matter what is thrown at us, whether it's Zoom improv, in-person improv, all kinds of genres, musical improv? What keeps you coming back and continuing improv?
That's a good question. My like gut instinct is it scares me. And like
right there with you.
And I like doing things that are new and scary, and I don't like monotony. Why can't I say that word?
Monotonous events, futility.
All of them. Yep. I don't like the same thing every day, you know? So to get up in front of people and to not expect what's coming, like just to not know, I think is just really exciting. And it gives me a feeling in my stomach and in my soul that I don't typically feel anywhere else. Sometimes when I'm teaching, I also get that high, but improv gives me the like hella high of just like, here I am, literally anything can happen at any moment. And then the second part of that is the connection. So when I tell people I'm a comedian, they're like, oh, I'm sure you get this, tell some jokes, you know? Hey, do some stand-up. And I'm like, I am not a stand-up comedian because I need people. I need to be able to like have that connection, to have that trust, to be able to like play off someone else. So I would never, ever get up and do it on my own. And like I said, the trust and the connections I've made either with students or with my team have been lifelong and life-changing. And it's adults playing with each other, and you can't really get that anywhere else, you know?
Nope. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The whole joke, tell me, oh, you're an actor? Tell me, say something, do something, act for me. I'm like, what? Like, what? I remember I was working a job
Dance
once,
monkey.
And literally, I remember I was working a job, and my boss at one point, like, I didn't get along with, like, most of the people that worked there, and I was like, whatever, it's fine. But at one point, she was like, you're an actor? I was like, yeah. And she goes, why don't you, she's like, you're a comedian. She's like, why don't you do some jokes? And I'm like, well, I don't, she's like, well, if you should be able to do it all the time. I'm like, well, like, you're asking me to do it while I'm on the clock. Like, I'm not prepared for it, but also like, I'm nervous and like, I'm self-conscious. And she's like, well, then you shouldn't be an actor. And I'm like, I was like, you're not even an actor. I don't know what you're not an entertainer.
Thank you for telling me my truth.
Yeah. I was like, I appreciate it. But you know, maybe there's a reason why I'm self-conscious about like just doing some jokes in front of people while I'm at work. Like maybe that's like not the environment for me. Like I don't like, also like just tell some jokes. Okay. I have a Rolodex of jokes. What do you want to hear? Like, hold on, I gotta go work. Hold on, bye, see ya. Okay, let me go work. And it's like, yeah. I'm like, you're not coming to anything I'm doing anyway, so what does it matter?
Right? You really want to support me? Come to my show.
I literally was like, or anyone that worked there. Whatever, it's fine. I'm not bitter about it
at all.
That being said, do you have any like plugs or pitches of your own? Since I've been plugging my show from 2018, do you have any like relevant pitches you'd like to plug?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, currently I am in Comedy Sports. So Comedy Sports Chicago. We're still on Twitch. Right now we're in a July break, but this is coming out in August. It's August. So I'm actually making my minor league debut. For the last year I've been doing rec league. Just got moved up to minor league. So check us out Wednesday nights on Twitch. Just Comedy Sports Chicago Twitch. And then also just support Comedy Sports because they're really fun and really funny. And they're all over the country too. So just if you want like family friendly, fast, great, funny improv, just go to Comedy Sports. And then the other thing is
family friendly, fast, funny. The 3S.
All the things. And there's a ref and points. And then
but the points don't matter.
It's basically the people who know improv because they're like, oh, I know Drew Carey. You know the show?
Yeah.
That's what Comedy Sports is basically.
Yeah. The amount of times we get asked that every week. Oh, so it's like Whose Line? I mean, yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what'll get you to here, yes.
Yes. The other thing is I do have my own podcast. It's called In Love with Movies. My husband made it so that I would watch more movies because I'm not a movie person. So
I'm obsessed with movies.
we oh no, we have to have you on. Every month we talk about a love topic and a movie. And so check us out on wherever you get your podcasts. In Love with Movies.
Maybe on Spotify, iTunes, maybe not Pandora because they take a while to get back to you, but everywhere else other than Pandora.
Anywhere Anchor puts the podcast, that's where I got a podcast.
Great.
I do break up. I break into Chicago every once.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was like, I didn't notice it until I was like, yeah, there it is. Okay, Chicago. All right, Chicago, not Minnesota, and not Newfoundland up in Canada, but Chicago. Chicago, it's like a harsher.
You don't say like a 3. You say like treat. You know, like a.
Yeah.
To go into Yeah.
Yeah. And then in the South, you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You know, keep going, and then you forget most of the time after that what comes next.
No.
That's how the South is. Just kidding. Just kidding. I sound like it's. I mean, I'm from Florida. I mean, we already got jokes. Florida man,
yep.
You know, all that stuff. So I mean,
oh yeah.
You know, there's nothing I can do. It's a new TV series coming out. I mean, like that's just what we are.
I have no comment. So sorry.
That's it. Anyway, Dani, thanks so much for joining me here on the Improv Summit. I always say that is the last question I have. I didn't actually tell you that was the last question I had for you. But the last question I have for you is the reason why I'm doing this Improv Summit in general. Before pandemic, but even during pandemic, I've had a lot of people that came up to me and said, hey, you know, physically came up to me in my Zoom square, said, just kidding, who said, hey, Spencer, you take a lot of improv. Where should I take improv? And I was like, well, I've done Comedy Sports, UCB, IO, Second City, Impro, and I'm like, those are all different. What do you want from improv? And people are like, I just want it on my resume. And I'm like, but also there's a lot of factors. Like, those are all great for your resume. Like, it's just, what is your path? And so I would start sending emails out and like breaking it down, like how each program was. And I was like, this is a lot. So I was just like, I'll do this podcast. So that all being said, my question for you is, if someone came up to you and said, where should I take improv? What would be one piece of advice or one tidbit you'd give to them to help guide them on their improv journey?
I think you kind of already answered it, but like, I wouldn't say go here. I would say, what do you want out of it? There's like such a big, vast world out there, and every theater and every style and every format is different. And so like, for example, if you just want to like connect with humans, maybe you just want to join your own group or join like a Improv for Autism group, or like form your own group and figure it out. Like, that's great. If you want, what did I say earlier? Family friendly, fast and funny. You can go to Comedy Sports. That's very like the Whose Line Is It Anyway of improv. If you want to walk the halls that Tina Fey walked and really get into that nitty gritty like feelings and long form improv, Second City. And if you want no rules at all, go to The Annoyance. It's just silly and wild and fun. And unfortunately, IO doesn't exist in Chicago anymore.
It doesn't exist anywhere anymore.
Oh.
R.I.P. IO.
Yeah.
It's almost like a song, like, you know, B-I-N-G-O. It's R-I-P-I-O, 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 and I-O was its name. Oh, there's my dad joke of the show. Just put it in there. But I like that one. That's a pretty solid one,
That was some good musical improv right there. And then I would also say, don't limit yourself, because I didn't know that musical improv was a thing. Like, I went into improv because my therapist said I should, and I truly believe every single human in this world should take at least one improv class. Because I had a lot of people in my, I'm sure you did too, like in my intro improv classes that were doing it for business. They were doing it for anxiety. They were doing it like for so many other reasons than to be like, I'm going to be the next Tina Fey or Rachel Dratch, you know, whatever.
Stephen Colbert. Wow, I can't talk.
Not sure. I've never heard that guy, but
I mean, also Stephen Colbert. You could be the next Stephen Colbert.
That's right.
You know, the one that's no one's ever heard of. So you'll fit right in.
Yeah, and also comedy is subjective, so find what you think is funny. I've been to shows where I'm like, nah, I don't have to see this again. And I've been to shows where people think it's not cool, and I'm like, this is the funnest thing I've ever been to. So really don't limit yourself. Figure out who you are, what you want to do, and then try things. I don't know. Especially, I don't know where people are listening, but if you're in LA, New York, or Chicago, y'all, there it is. Y'all are lucky because we have every single improv there is to know. So check it out. And there's a lot of, especially with things opening back up, like free jams, free open stages. Like, try that. Can I swear on here?
Yeah, sure. My rule is that I will never say a bad word, but I don't care if my guest curses.
Try that poop out. See, I didn't even swear on here.
Oh, there we go. That works. We know what the real meaning is, though. You know, poop. Wink. I'm winking with my good eye, by the way, because my other one just kind of blinks.
Yeah, that's probably the answer that you already said at the beginning, but there is no right answer. Like, find what is calling you, and if you try one and you're like, no, don't end there, because there's so many other different ways to do it. And also try musical improv because it's really fun, and that's scarier than any improv.
And I will bring up 2 points that you said. One is that comedy being subjective. Like, I'm a big fan of puns and dad jokes. I know a lot of people that are like, please never say a dad joke ever again. But for me, like, I love it. So, like, games like, like, Hey Waiter, like all those line games at the end, I'm like living for these. I'm like, if I never do a scene it game in my life, I'll be fine. But like, give me a pun game or like a world's worst, I am ready. I will spin them out like crazy. But then also the idea of musical improv. You know, you said you may not be like the greatest singer, but you don't have to be. That's what is so, and that's where I think music improv gets really hard for me, because I have a degree in music. So every time I sing a wrong note, I'm like, I sing a wrong note. So it's so stressful for me. But people who are not musically inclined generally tend to not care at all. And it's so fun because it's like, you know that like they know that they're not a singer, but they're having so much fun that you can't help but like watch, because it's so enjoyable. Versus someone like me who, like, I can't, when I sing, like, people are like, oh my God, you can really sing. And I'm like, thanks. Okay, now I'm going to pretend like I can't do anything now. Because I get so self-conscious of being like, you're so good. And then it's like, but then the next time I'm not going to be as good. And then I start to like spiral. But that's just my own insecurities, and improv has given me a lot of confidence. Anyways, blah, 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 blah. Enough about me. But I think those are some great points that you've brought up, is like taking musical improv. If it scares you, if you're not a singer, you're probably going to excel at it almost a lot more than a musically inclined person will, because you don't have those pitfalls of feeling like you have to sing on pitch or singing in rhythm or rhyming and all of these things. Whereas someone who's more musically inclined will try and add those things in and be like, I'm now overwhelmed by the fact that it's musical and improv.
Yeah.
That's just from my perspective.
I agree. And the most recent like string of shows that I did was Comedy Sports Chicago had something called Carry Okay. And they were looking for like the most okayest karaoke singer. And so every week it was like boy band week, 80s night, country night. And there was a theme, and it was kind of like The Voice. There were judges. And every week we had to put together a karaoke show. But here's the catch, is because of like copyright infringement issues, we couldn't have any background music or anything. So I'm sitting here singing Beyonce with not a Beyonce voice and trying to make it entertaining. And let me tell you, I made it to top 3, not because of my voice, but because of just like, I'm doing crazy poop, and I'm whipping out my Irish dance moves, and I'm like doing all these crazy things, and like people want to see it. If you're having fun, then people are having fun. I don't want to ever watch myself do it, because I'm sure I sucked, but it was a really good time.
Yeah, as long as you're having fun, like you said, people will have fun. People want to be entertained. Especially if they're coming to comedy, they're not like, I'm coming to see really good people do really good stuff at a comedy. They're like, I'm coming here to laugh. I'm coming here to have a good time and enjoy myself. So I think that's another thing. One of the biggest things I say about improv is scenes are so high stakes, but the improv itself, there's literally no stakes involved at all with improv, like at all. Like you make these high stakes in improv scenes, but literally if like something goes like oopsies or wrong in an improv scene, you know what happens? You move on to another scene and no one remembers it existed after that. Like there's really no actual Like I always think of it as like the meme where like there's the fire all around and the dog is like sitting with the cup, and I'm like, that's what I expect. But it's like just being like, yeah, okay, all right. Literally, there's no fire. Like I'm literally can just go home and just move on and go to the next day. Like there's literally no stakes at all involved in improv, which is what makes the stakes in the scene so wonderful, because you're making them so dramatic and so drastic and so over the top for something that literally doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love.
How many times have you bombed a scene and you're like you're up at night like, oh my God, I should have said purple when I said magenta. It would have moved the scene forward.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it's like always like the little moments where it's like I will like completely bomb a scene, but then I'll go into like and I'll be like, you know, it would have been funnier if I asked a question instead of said the statement. Like, but it's like the whole scene was fine. It's just like that one like if I had said that instead of this, it would have been so funny. Or like you said, like the purple versus magenta, like those moments. But like if I have a whole scene where I'm like, I don't know what happened in that scene, I'm like, cool, whatever. Like it doesn't even bug me. It's just like that one little moment. Anyway, Dani, thanks so much for joining me here on the Improv Summit. I did say that was the last question I had for you, but as always on this show, my nose grows just like Pinocchio, but it doesn't. The point is I'm like a Pinocchio. I just lie. That was the whole point. I'm a Paul Giamatti, you know, a big fat liar. And
wow, that's a great show. Okay.
Movie. Yeah, right? Did you know there was a sequel called Bigger, Fatter Liar?
Stop. Amanda Bynes and Frankie Muniz are in it or no?
No, none of the original cast.
Then I don't want to know about it.
But the disc art is exactly like the original disc art, where it's like the one girl on the one side, the guy on the other, and like the bigger, fatter liar in the middle, with like tied up with rope, like literally the same exact thing. I found it at a Dollar Tree once, and then I was like, there's a sequel to this movie. It was direct to video and everything, and I went, wow, I will never watch this.
Yeah. Oof.
But I'm like, maybe I should rewatch the original and see if it holds up like it did when I saw it in theaters as a teenager. But
well, when you're on my podcast, that's the movie we can talk about.
There's so many weird movies. Three Ninjas, Good Burger, like the
Three
Princess
Ninjas.
and the Goblin.
Oh my God, that's such
I love Three Ninjas. That holds up. Rocky loves Emily. Rocky loves Emily. And then he like drinks the drink and he gets all the runs because it's got just like pouring the stuff in there.
Isn't that movie, does someone say choked on a jelly bean, or am I making that
up? I think that is, I think something with, because he's always eating the jelly beans, Tum Tum. He's always eating like jelly beans and Twizzlers and stuff. I don't know why this was Twizzler, but that was a Twizzler.
Man.
One thing we know about me on this show is I am not great with object work. I will really try hard.
Twizzler.
That's my Twizzler. Or like I did a computer like this a lot on the show early on. I was like, when have I ever used a computer like this? It's just my object work. That's what it is. Oops. You remember Rover Dangerfield?
No.
It was a movie where Rodney Dangerfield played a dog named Rover Dangerfield.
Oh my God! Why have I not heard of this?
It's like the same company that did Rock-a-Doodle and Cats Don't Dance. Cats Don't Dance is great, by the way. Great movie.
Okay, I don't know about this company because I've never heard of any of these
It's Bluth. It's the people that did Anastasia, I think, or that's 20th Century Fox, but it's like the Don Bluth company that did All Dogs Go to Heaven and 1 and 2.
Okay.
All those like classic 80s and 90s cartoons that no one remembers. So you know. I
do remember All Dogs Go to Heaven.
I know.
Anastasia.
I remember that title is very apt for that movie.
I couldn't tell you what it's about. Do they go to heaven or no?
I think that all the dogs go to heaven.
Oh, okay. All right, cool.
Or like they were in heaven the whole time or something. I don't know. Like, and then all dogs go to heaven too, because all the dogs that didn't go to heaven in the first one go to heaven in the second one.
Oh, of course they had to have a sequel. Isn't there a big dog with small wings?
Yeah, I think so.
And he like flies lopsided. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that sounds about right. Anyway, the last question I have for you is, we've been talking a lot about improv. You want to do some improv?
No.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, great. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Okay,
sure,
bye.
Of course. Let's do some improv.
Yeah, let's do it. Yes, and let's do it. Aha. So I'm gonna go with the words are charge or block. So pick one of those two. Tell me which one you'd like.
I like charge.
Charge. Great. And then who would you like to initiate the scene?
You go.
Great. All right. Thank you. Charge is the suggestion. Charge. Thank you. Yeah, it's not breaking. Oh, this door is never going to come down with this battering ram.
Did you try opening it like we did last time, though? I don't understand why you decided that this was the way to get in. This today had to be the way to get in, Steve.
Diane, I just figured that this was going to be the way to, like, keep it open from now on. But they really got it sturdy. They got it locked and sturdy, and they won't let it out. They won't let us in, that's for sure.
Steve, it's so funny you're saying all these things because I wanted to talk to you about something. I think you need to keep an open mind. You know, you're kind of locked in, kind of like this door and this battering ram. When I said, let's get ice cream, and you said, no, we have to get custard, like, that was a battering ram to my heart.
Sorry, Dan, I didn't mean to play games with your heart. I'll quit playing games with your heart if we can just stay in sync with each other on getting this door open.
You know what? One of these times I'm gonna say bye, but not today. Not today, because I love you, Steve, but I've told you 1,000,000 times over. You have to eat ice cream. You have to. Because
it's gonna be me, isn't it?
Yeah.
The one who's gonna.
Every little thing you do.
Make the hard conversation.
Never be enough for you.
This I promise you. If you want ice cream, you can have ice cream. I want custard, but I don't need custard. You know, I just got paid.
This is like a digital get down.
No strings attached with the ice cream, really. I mean, really, you could just make it work.
Steve, I'm stronger than yesterday because of what you've done for me.
Well, now it's nothing but a mile away. I mean, we're like really close to the ice cream place if you wanna go.
And they say I'm so lucky. You know?
You're like a star.
I was gonna say that, Steve. Actually, I was thinking just one more thing.
Hit me, baby, one more time.
Sprinkles? Can we put sprinkles on our love and our ice cream?
There's an unending amount of sprinkles for the love I have for you from the bottom of my broken heart, which is now mending. Because every time I try, we make it work. You know, you and me against the music.
Right. We used to be toxic. But now the ice cream and the sprinkles have really proven your love to me.
And I want it that way. And scene.
I don't know. I just had to go into Britney Spears because I was like, he's taking all the NSYNC songs.
Well, it was also funny because I said quit playing games with my heart, and that is Backstreet Boys.
That's correct.
Not
correct.
Even
so I thought we were in the
NSYNC.
90s kind of that.
So and then you said Digital Get Down. I was like, Digital Get Down. That CD is like legit. Like I have the CD. I saw the CDs. That CD, I was like, that is a bopping CD. Every song on there is like, I didn't skip a song when I was listening to it back.
During the pandemic, during the beginning part of it, when no one could do anything, I rewatched that entire concert on YouTube.
Oh,
it was
nice.
Great.
Yeah,
so good.
That was fun. Thanks everybody so much for coming to the Improv Summit. I'm Spencer. Dani. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.